Hello there everybody, this is Adrian Kingsley Hughes here from ZDNet's Hardware 2.0. One question that I've been asked a lot over the years is how dangerous are these things? Smartphone batteries. Now this is a replacement battery. This is definitely not a genuine replacement battery for an iPhone SE first generation. I probably wouldn't bother putting this into a phone because I think this was under $10 for the battery and the tools and all the kind of random bits. It's probably pretty basic and probably pretty, I wouldn't expect it to last that long, but it's good enough for what we're doing here. So, battery safety. What's the real problem with these? Well, first off, these are actually pretty safe. There's tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of devices out there that have these kind of batteries in them, and every day we're throwing phones around, leaving them baking in the sun on car dashboards. They're getting wet, they're getting plugged into kind of sketchy chargers, and mostly they don't blow up. It's pretty amazing. These things are, even at the cheap end of the spectrum, incredibly safe. I mean, this one here is well made. It's hard to bend. I could bend it, but it's pretty robust. So where do they go wrong? Well, there's a few ways that these things can go wrong, and let's cover those first before we kind of look at kind of what happens when they actually do go wrong. The main thing that can happen with these is that you damage the outer, this plastic coating that's on the outside of this thing. And there's a few ways you can damage that. If you look at the edge here, there's a little seal here. I don't know if you can see that there, but these edges have been crimped and sealed. Oops. And if you damage that, you let in air. Air is kind of what gives these things sort of, the oomph that they want to kind of start misbehaving. The other thing that tends to happen is when batteries in phones are usually stuck down. Now, I've stuck on the back of these the little tabs that the little adhesive strips that they use to stick these down into phones. And the idea is that it's stuck down into your phone so that it doesn't rattle around when you're kind of living your life and using your phone. And when it comes to time to change it, you pull on these pull tabs, and yeah, they break off just like that, just like that one did. But the idea is that you pull them off, and they're supposed to give you that kind of quick release sort of safe method. But as you saw there, one of them broke off. So what do you do when one breaks off? Well, people generally get in there and start levering with stuff, and you break this outer shell. The other thing that can go wrong with these is that you can end up in that position where they age and they mechanically fail because they swell up. Maybe that's because they've been overheated. Maybe that's because they've been charged improperly, some kind of damage that's happened from but again, that's incredibly rare. Remember, there are billions of these out there, and we hear very little from them. They are incredibly robust. Well, this one here, let's see just how robust it is. Now, before I go any further, I don't recommend doing this, but I've changed hundreds of batteries in things. I've handled a lot of batteries. I've had batteries go up in flames. I sort of know what to expect from it. If anything, when you're a tech, you should probably be aware of this anyway. I mean, I've always got a little dish full of sand that I can put stuff into. There's a fire extinguisher. I don't generally kind of work around a lot of flammable stuff. And when things do go bad, the whole key is don't panic. Because if you panic, you throw this into your kind of dog's bed on the floor or something, and you've got that's tinder dry, and you've got some problems. But on the whole, this is incredibly safe. If you're thinking about kind of going and changing a battery in something, and you're worried about like, ooh, what happens if I damage it, be pretty, confident in the fact that it's quite hard to damage. I mean, I could bend this if I wanted to, and that if it bends, actually, I think I might have actually bent it just now. Yeah, I think I've probably given it a little bit too much. But at the end of the day, I've really manhandled this. I wouldn't put a manhandled battery into something because it's going to last even less than if it's not been manhandled. But take care if you're handling these things. Handle them in the way of almost like thinking that they're made of glass, and you should be okay. Don't bend it, don't force it, don't think that you can squeeze it in. I think thinking of it like glass is probably one of the best things you can do. With Apple sort of now expanding a home repair program, I think you've got a lot more people thinking, should I replace my own battery? Should I kind of, or should I just kind of give it to somebody else to do? My view is that if you're in any doubt about it, my idea is that if you're in any doubt about it, don't do it. The process is pretty easy to do, especially with the right tools, and it's very well documented. There's been lots of people who have gone ahead of you and highlighted all the potential pitfalls in there, but you can still cause damage. There's a lot of delicate ribbon cables inside your phone. There's an awful lot of expensive circuit boards, and for the cost of actually getting somebody to replace the battery, you could actually create a lot more havoc than you're saving. So if you're in any doubt, don't do it. My idea for people wanting to kind of get into this process of maybe practicing with this might be to buy a kind of an old phone or something and play around with taking it apart, changing the battery, maybe even changing the display, buy some cheap bits off eBay or whatever, and play around with it. That'll give you the confidence then to kind of move into something else. There's nothing like doing. You can watch YouTube videos, you could watch all sorts of sort of how-tos and all this kind of stuff, but there's nothing like doing it yourself to know how much force can you kind of apply to kind of pry a battery up. How much force do you put on this connector to disconnect it, to connect it and disconnect it? What about those tiny little screws? How much twist action on that is too much twist action? You're only ever going to find that out through doing. So if you're interested in kind of fixing stuff, my advice would be start off with something that you don't care if you don't fix it, or if you don't care that even if you break it. That seems to be the way to do it. And play around, like pretty much any time I'm going into something that I've never been into before, even if there's documentation out there, I'm flying partly blind at least. And that comes from experience, and the only way you're going to get experience is through playing around with stuff. But be safe, be sensible, take those precautions, maybe even safety glasses, maybe even gloves if you're feeling like, because you're handling things with glass in anyway. Most people who change batteries in a phone don't wear glasses, don't wear gloves. Most don't even take any kind of fire precautions. It's kind of interesting. I would suggest, especially in the beginning, take that precaution, because who knows what's going to happen, But what's the worst that can happen if you happen to damage one of these batteries while you're putting it in? I mean, the first thing to realize is that it is not going to just go up in smoke immediately. There we go. That's definitely pierced that battery. It's a speed hole. Let's put another speed hole into it. Now this battery here has been fully charged, maybe even overly charged. And as you can see, nothing. Let's put another hole into it. Now, it's pretty resistant to actually kind of doing anything. Well, that's quite anticlimactic actually. Let's leave and see what it does. In the past, in order to get these to go off, I've actually had to sort of really go to town on them with bending them. It is warming up. I can feel it warming up now. Yeah, that's warming up. It's maybe starting to puff up ever so slightly. But as you can see, it's not sort of gone China syndrome. It's not showered sparks everywhere. It's not sort of gone off like a firework. It's not filled the place with smoke. It's not sort of done anything seems particularly rowdy. It is important to note, though, that this now needs safe disposal. These batteries need safe disposal anyway. They're not something you should throw into the trash because, you know, this kind of damage is going to happen to them in the trash. They are going to overheat. There is that potential for things to catch fire. So you always need to make sure these things are recycled safely. I always keep old batteries somewhere that's completely away from any kind of fire, you know, something that's going to catch fire. I definitely wouldn't sort of just leave this on the side. Definitely not in this condition now, for sure. But as you can see, it's not rowdy at all. I mean, let's put another hole into it. There you go. I mean, now there's kind of like about 5 or 6 holes in it, and it's still just kind of sitting there. It's warming up. It's warmed up a little bit. But as you can see, has it gone off? Nope. Yeah. And what I would do with this now, just for clarity here, is I wouldn't just leave this on the side and let it kind of like decide that it's going to kind of just go off in sparks at some point. There is still the potential that this could go off. And so the safest way to deal with this is to take a dish with some dry sand in it, metal dish. You take the battery, you put it into the dry sand, cover it up, and then grab the wrong cover. You put a cover over the top, and that way, if it does go rowdy, you know, it's pretty self-contained in here, and, you know, hopefully that's going to be enough to kind of dissipate any kind of drama that happens. Now, my purpose here hasn't been to kind of like show you how to create, set batteries off at home. It is to show you that while there's a lot of, you can go onto the internet and you find a lot of videos of these things going off in rather dramatic fashion. A lot of those videos have been sort of engineered, maybe kind of production value in order to make this process seem far more exciting than it actually is. On the whole, battery damage is not going to result in some kind of sudden fire. My experience of it has been that all along. It takes a lot of damage for one of these batteries to decide that it's going to start to seriously smoke, and it's going to take a lot of damage for it to suddenly decide that it's going to emit flames. That's my experience of it. I've handled a lot of these. I've had a lot of them go kind of bad on me. I have had a couple emit fire and smoke, but what happened there wasn't so much battery damage. It was that the battery itself was flawed, or a poor quality battery that didn't have maybe some of the safety measures that even some of these other cheaper ones have, and it didn't like being kind of handled. It didn't like being kind of charged up. So on the whole, you're pretty safe. Think of your battery as being made of something like glass. Handle it with care. Dispose of old ones safely. And if you're in any kind of doubt or concern about something, then I would definitely say don't do it, because you know, you can get somebody else to do a battery replacement on something. It's cheap, and it's going to end up being far cheaper than repairing any damage that you might end up creating. Let's have a look in here, see if there's anything happening in here. There's sand everywhere. That's good. No, nothing. No, nothing. And this is a fully charged, possibly even overcharged battery, because I charged it using unorthodox means, shall we say. So yeah, Still not decided to go up. It's definitely bloating. It's definitely, it's actually cooled down a bit now. But it's definitely bloated. It's definitely damaged. It's definitely in that place of like, you want to be careful with it. But as you can see, I'm comfortable handling it. I'm comfortable even putting, more holes in it, bending it. But still, don't take chances with it. I'm showing you this in order to show you that they're not as dangerous as some of the stuff that you see online is, but still be careful. That's the main thing. Take care. If you're interested in getting into repairing stuff, as I said, I would recommend buying some stuff that you don't mind if you're going to break it. Have a play with that and then build up your confidence. This has been Adrian Kingsley Hughes for ZDNet's Hardware 2.0. Hope to see you all again real soon. Take care out there. Cheerio.